The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, just waiting for one or two more to join in, I believe. I have asked Ella or Keris just to drop me a message just to make sure you can all hear me because it's my first time, so I just wanted to make sure that somebody could hear me because I'm a bit concerned that it might go wrong. Thank you, Ella. Again, just wait for one or two more to join in and then we'll get started. I'll just wait a couple of minutes. Okay, doke. I'm going to start, but please, somebody, will you just message me if you can't see the slides or if you can't hear me, because again, it's my first time, so I'm just a bit concerned that something's going to go wrong. Probably a little bit of self-doubt. So anyway, as most of you should know by now, I went to the QLS Diamond Academy at the weekend with John and Jane, and it was incredible. If any of you haven't been to one before, I would definitely recommend it because I've never been to one. And I must say it's completely changed everything that I ever thought about the business. I was starting to get geared up, to be honest, with Ella's 5 months manager plan and all that kind of thing, which I know most of you are on. But what I learnt this weekend will definitely change my opinion even of that, to be honest, and I'm hoping that I can share a few bits with you tonight. I'm concerned I might not do the weekend justice because there was an awful lot of information to try and compile into one webinar, so there might be a bit of information that I haven't covered in this. However, I have got notes of my own, so if anybody wants my full set of notes, then I'm happy to share those with you. I've got them all on a Microsoft Word document, so almost finished compiling them, so I'm quite happy to send it across if you want me to. So just message me after this and I can do that for you as well. So let's get started. Obviously you know who these guys are, John and Jane Leach, John Curtis. They obviously run the QLS group, and they were running the weekend as well, along with various other speakers. So I'm just going to start by talking a little bit through what they told us of their story. A lot of it was new to me, to be honest, so I don't know how much other people will know. If you know it, then obviously, yeah, I suppose you'll always learn something new. So Jane started the Saturday morning just by talking about some of their statistics, which I found quite interesting because I've never seen them before. So you can see the CCs there. I'm not going to read them all out to you. But obviously they did have a good increase between August and December, from 8 cc right up to 153 cc's. And November saw them hit manager, which obviously is great performance. The check also, as you would expect, increased from £37 right up to £1,658, which, as we all know, is full-time income plus a little bit more, with most of us earning around £1,000 a month. So that really shows that in quite a short space of time, Forever can deliver the income that would match your full-time income, if not give you a little bit more. However, January came, and you can see by this little fact here that the cheque actually decreased from £1,658 down to £749. Now I know £749 is still a decent amount of money. However, as you can see by all the other figures, they have actually increased every single month apart from this month. Now Jane explained to us that they did get a little bit complacent after December. They'd hit manager, they'd stopped doing the basics and they'd taken their eye off the ball. So because they stopped doing all the basics, their team actually stopped doing the basics as well. Jane did say she felt like she wanted it for her team more than they wanted it for themselves, which she did advise everybody to consider that. Because obviously if they don't want it for themselves, you can't make them do the activity, and therefore your performance is going to go down as well. In addition to the cheque going down to £749, they also just missed care plan by 1.44 cc's. Now I know we all know what 1.4 cc's is, and it's it's 3 cleanses, or it's a very small amount. So if they hadn't maybe got so complacent and they had kept an eye on every cc, then maybe they would have hit care plan. Well, they would definitely have hit care plan in that January. So I think they were quite gutted about that, to be honest. All of the speakers over the weekend just kept reiterating how important it is just to count every single cc and know where everyone's going to come from to hit those incentives and those goals. So they shared a couple of lessons with us, 3 lessons actually, about this. One of them was share the opportunity with passion. The second one was everything is possible if you want it bad enough. And the third one is it's all about duplication. Now these 3 things, the sharing the opportunity with passion, anything is possible as long as you want it enough, and the duplication, every single speaker who spoke to us over the weekend, all of them said exactly the same things, which for me, I think it just solidified that forever it's not rocket science. We can all do it. It's just about getting those principles in place and deciding how much you want it, and then doing the activity to get to your goals, really. I'm sorry about all the little whizzy things there. I haven't done a PowerPoint for a while, so I think I got a bit carried away. Consistency was another thing that everybody over the weekend spoke about, as well as duplication. So in the first full year, Jane and John just shared another few statistics with us, and these are the kind of statistics that they shared with us. They also said around this point, after January and the kind of fall in the activity and therefore a fall in their income and the CCs, they decided that they had to get serious and they had to make a plan. So they really got to work in identifying the potential leaders and working really close with their potential leaders to kind of put a plan in place for them as well as for themselves, and to work with them to bring them up to what they were expecting, really. The one thing that I've just highlighted is they said make a plan and work your plan consistently every single day, every single month, every single week, just to keep it going, touch your business every day, which I know is something that isn't new to any of us. We've all heard that before, but I think Jane just as a way with words, I find, and somehow it makes you understand it better than anybody else saying it. So in January, they were obviously at £749, and then 3 months later, so by April, they were at 259 cc's. They had a bonus check of 2,560, so they've gone up there from 749 up to 2,560, which is a huge increase. And again, that's from being more consistent, not getting complacent, and keeping their eye on the ball. They also hit senior manager, and they finally hit that care plan, which they missed in January. So I guess what she was trying to say to us is, even if you do have a setback, and even if you do slip a little bit in your business, then you can, as long as you get back onto it as quickly as possible, you can always bring it back round and achieve more than what you possibly would have done in the first place, by really learning from your mistakes in the past. Oh, again, sorry about all this. Another thing that was really drilled into us at the weekend is it's all about building managers. So it's not really something that I've thought about in forever personally. All I've really thought about is getting supervisor, to be honest. I've never really even thought. I've thought a little bit about manager, but certainly building managers and the soaring sapphire, diamond, and all that kind of thing hasn't really occurred to me until this weekend, which might surprise you. I don't know. Some other people might be in the same position as me. So just some facts. These are when Jane and John hit the various milestones within forever. Obviously, the hit manager within the first year, and diamond within 7 years. So now they have businesses in over 50 countries. So they've definitely got a global business in almost every country that Forever operates in. They've got over 500,000 Forever business owners in their team, which I just find an astonishing number, to be honest. I can't even imagine that kind of number. They've got 5 double diamonds, many diamond sapphires, thousands of sapphire, soaring and senior managers, and too many managers to count, Jane said. Sorry, I'm just having a drink. So that kind of shows to you just the magnitude of their business, I suppose. 500,000 FBOs and too many managers to count, when for most of us we just want to get to manager, to be honest. But it just shows you where you can go with the business if you want to be another Jane and John. I know it's probably not for everybody, but the opportunity is there should you want it. So I love this quote. You can obviously read it yourself. And the next section was on mindset by Diana Page. Now I'm ashamed to admit it, but I've not actually known that much about Diana Page. I think she's one of those who kind of keeps herself to herself a little bit more. But possibly I'm completely wrong by saying that. But she was very inspirational. She's Canadian, if nobody's spoke to her or heard her speak before. And definitely one to kind of listen to if you see any trainings on, or look out for, because she's doing incredibly well, but again, not one that I've particularly come across. She sort of were working on the distraction side of it and focusing. This was one of the quotes that she used in her PowerPoint, and I thought tirelessly to try and find it, because I found it quite interesting. I know some of you will. It's about focusing on other people's lives and not necessarily comparing yourself to other people. She really went to town on not getting distracted by others, and focusing what you're doing rather than focusing on what other people are doing. I know some people get spurred on by what other people are doing, and I suppose more competitive with it, whereas some people see other people doing well and see other people getting promotions and see what other people are doing, and then they kind of give up a little bit themselves because they think they can't get there or they're not as good as that person. If you're one of those people, obviously don't look at what the people are doing. She made an analogy about rugby and going forward rather than zigzagging. So if you've got kids or if you've got brothers or whatever who play rugby, you'll know that coaches spend an awful lot of the time saying go forward, because the kids are kind of zigzagging all over the pitch, and the quickest route obviously to the finish is going forward. So that's how she kind of described her forever business. However, she did say that she spent quite a while zigzagging through the business, and she actually spent 8 months at supervisor, which I know a lot of people do spend a fair amount of time at one particular slot in the marketing plan. Not through choice, obviously, but it's just the kind of, for one reason or another, they can't quite get to the next level, whether that's assistant manager or manager. So from this, obviously, you can see that even some of the stars in Forever, the top people, they still struggle with these same issues that you and I struggle with. After 20 months, her bonus check went from £47 to £5,000, and in that time she had a baby as well. So she kind of said once you stopped zigzagging, once you started going forward, once you stopped focusing on what other people were doing and started focusing more on what she was doing, her business just grew massively, which is a lesson for us all, I think. And again, she just said this journey is about you. Don't compare. Especially if that's something you struggle with, comparing yourself to other people. I just wouldn't even look at what they're doing, to be honest. Again, still on Diana Page, your setback is the platform for your comeback, which I just love. It's just, if you get knocked back, just pull yourself together, get back on the horse, as they say, and keep on going with it. And you can't move uphill thinking downhill thoughts. So if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time, I'm never going to get to supervisor, I'm never going to get to manager, whatever those thoughts are, then unfortunately you'll never get there. And I've been really, really bad at this at times. But again, this weekend's just tried to, I suppose, made me think that you've got to be maybe more positive in life as well as in forever. And again, she says, you have a choice: stay where you are or change it, do something about it. Which I thought actually it's very simple, but that makes quite a lot of sense. Take responsibility for your actions. And Diana actually went from soaring manager to sapphire manager in 10 months, which is a great achievement. So these three pictures, they're not something that you'll never have seen before. The comfort zone one, don't do your best, do whatever it takes. We've heard various people say that in Forever. Possibly the other one you might not have seen, but you'll have seen something similar. So really what they were trying to say is, I think it was Andy Carver really, he was saying to us, you need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now that, to me, at first I thought, what, that doesn't make any sense. However, when you think about it a little bit more, you think actually that makes sense, because there's lots and lots of times in doing all of this Forever stuff and doing anything in the outside world where that makes you feel uncomfortable. But he says before you can ever do anything, you do need to start getting comfortable with feeling like that. The chicken list and all that kind of thing that Keris has told us all about. Or certainly me, I suppose she has everybody else as well. Diana's income grew by 51% last year, which I thought was quite incredible. I'm not sure of the exact figures, but 51% seems like quite a large amount to me. And again, everyone over the weekend says do more than you were asked to do. So obviously, Rex only asks us to do 4cc per month to get paid in Forever. However, they say if you say to yourself, I'm going to hit 4cc, then you might only hit 3 or 3.5. Whereas if you aim to do 6, then you'll do your 4. So it's doing more than what anybody ever asked you to do, what your client asked you to do, or what the company asked you to do. So I've got a bit more information on the system that Jane was describing to us, but it's not something that you won't know. But if you want the notes, then I can send them across to you. So really, this was all about just sticking to the system. Don't think that, we've all heard Paul say that he first thought it was too simple, and that he could do a better job, if you like. And a lot of people said that over the weekend. Whereas this, obviously, the system is tried and tested. The business cycle is tried and tested. So if you stick to that, you can't go too far wrong. And really, you just have to make sure you're an expert in every single area of the system. If you're not an expert, then you just need to practice it until you become an expert in it. So the tips that were given to us at the weekend was, when you're speaking to a brand new prospect, don't get into a question and answer session. Now, I know we've all been in a position where the new prospect's been asking 1,000,001 questions, and we've tried to answer them and then put them off because we've given them the wrong answers to what they're looking for. And Jane just says, she normally says to people, great question, I'm not going to answer those right now. I'll tell you my story, which will hopefully answer those for you. and if it doesn't answer the questions, obviously then answer whatever questions they've got left. She also suggested don't talk about money, which I know is a bit difficult at times, because everybody's saying how much does it cost and what can I earn and all that kind of thing. But Jane said if you can, try and stay away from it, nurture them and care for them, because that's what their job won't give them. Their bosses won't nurture them, they won't care for them, or it's likely that they won't anyway. So you're really trying to show them that Forever or network marketing is a better way of life, it's a better way of working, rather than traditional employment, which most people will be in. With regard to the business presentation, obviously you can either go to a business presentation, a local business presentation, or there's the opportunity for home BPs or the BPs online as well. So whichever method you use, Jane said to ask them which they would prefer, and if they don't have a preference, then guide them to whichever method you prefer. She says as well that she would normally ask her prospects to watch it once and write down what they like best, and watch it again and write down any questions that they had. That way they can focus on different things each time rather than having it be information overload. She also says to prospects, can I call you after to find out what you like and answer your questions? She says to try and pin them down to say, when do you think you'll be able to watch it? They say Friday night, you say, okie doke, can I ring you on Saturday to find out what you like, etc. She says then if she calls them and they say, oh no, I haven't watched it, she says to them, this information really does contain life-changing information. Please, when will you be able to watch it again? Then she gets a date. She says, can I ring you afterwards? They say yes, so then she rings them afterwards. And I mean, we've all heard it, but make sure you follow up with absolutely everybody who you send a video to. We've all been guilty of not following up with somebody, or quite a few people. But I don't know if anybody else knew, but I didn't actually know. But Jane and John didn't sign up first time they got asked to sign up to Forever. They actually joined up 6 weeks later when their friend followed up with them. So I suppose it made us all think if Jane and John if the guy who introduced it to Jane and John hadn't followed up with them and they hadn't ever joined Forever, then well, the likelihood is none of us would have joined Forever, and the whole company would be, especially in the UK, would be significantly different, especially given the other figures of how many people are within their team. So again, the beauty really is in the follow-up. Fortune is in the follow-up, sorry, is the correct way of putting it. And always link back to their why. So it was kind of emphasised to us not to talk too much about yourself and your journey. Obviously, you tell them your story, but just try and link it back to their why all the time, so that they know what you can do for them, rather than what they can do for you. Nobody's going to join because they think that they're doing you a favour. It should definitely be the other way around, and that's what we're all about in Forever. And then obviously the final section before you work with them as a team member is registering the prospect, and everything that goes with that. So this really is just about your who do you know list. So Chris Goldsborough covered this section at the weekend. Obviously, you can read everything on the screen there about the magic 100 plus and adding 2 people per day. Definitely use the memory joggers, frogs and steam. I've not used these, I've got to admit. However, Chris did explain at the weekend how well they can be used, and she did demonstrate it with a few people in the audience as well. She also says that she makes it into quite a fun activity. So she sits the kids down, well, she's sat kids down or whatever, or you can sit your kids down and go through, who do we know who's a teacher, who do we know who's in sales, and then your kids can come up with things, and then you can all kind of work together on it, and then you've got far more contacts than what you would have on your own. She also talked a little bit about the 6 degrees of separation, so you've probably all heard the theory. If not, you can have a look online, but Essentially it's 44 friends who have 44 friends, and times that by 6, which would equal 7.26 billion people. I haven't done the maths, but I assume that Chris got it right, which is more than the people in the world. So what that's really saying to you is, well, you could be connected to every single person in the world if if you found 44 friends, you have 44 friends kind of thing, and some of us will have much more than 44 friends, especially when you start looking on Facebook pages and that kind of thing. So it's just saying really that 100 people in the grand scheme of things, for 7.26 billion people, is very few. So it's just to drain every source of knowledge that you have on people who you know. The tip she gave us regarding this was, you never forget the people who you lose. So the people, and I've done this many times before in the last few months, and it's true, and I'm sure you've all done it as well. So you think, oh, they'd be great in the business, and you don't ask for the details for whatever reason, and that somebody who you've just met. Or you don't have a notepad and pen, or you don't have your phone with you, and then you can't get the details, and it's always those people you remember the most. Chris said she's done it umpteen times as well. Ask everybody and let them decide. She was saying, so I mean, again, this is nothing you've not heard before, but she says that don't assume that they're not going to be interested just because you don't think they will be, which we all ignore that from time to time, but we need to learn not to be. Don't lose the list and be organised with it. So Chris was saying, I can't remember how many she has now, but they have thousands of people on there who do I know list, and they've got it on paper, they've got it on the computer, they've got it backed up on a hard drive, they've got it everywhere, just because they says that they'd be gutted if they lost it, because it's really their database of their contacts. So especially when you start getting quite a big list, make sure that you've got it backed up in a few places, so you don't lose it. And she says as well, it doesn't matter if you don't have names or numbers of people or email addresses. She said she had quite a lot, especially in the early days, of people who said it was written on a list, something like lady who lives at number 14 on the street, or man who walks his dog called Poppy, or something like that. So just write anything down, and then you can work out the name and number later. But just to jog your memory so you don't forget about that person. Now, I must admit, because I'm pretty rubbish at, well, I say I'm pretty rubbish at note taking, but I took 20 A4 pages of notes over the weekend. But I don't actually know who this is referring to, so I know Chris told me about it, or told us about it, but I really have no idea who she was talking about. But I suppose it doesn't really matter, it's the numbers that matter. So whoever this Mr. was, he showed the business to 1,200 people. 900 people said no, 300 people said yes. So, that's quite a lot of people who said no before he started to get some yeses. 85 people did something, whatever they did a little bit of work, and 38 did something significant. So they really started to build a business. 11 people made him rich. Now, Keris or someone else might have seen this before, so they might know who this is referring to, and they can tell you later. But that kind of shows how many people you need to talk to the business about, before you get the yeses, and before you get people who are actually committed to doing the work, and how few people really you need to make you rich, or to at least make you a decent income if you're not interested in becoming mega rich. So, profile painting. So this is something again that was discussed over the weekend. So what was basically said is, I think it was Andy Carver who covered this section, and he says to people, the company I'm working for has given me the responsibility for recruiting some key people, and I think you may well know the kind of person I'm looking for. The kind of person who does well with us is, and he would then go on to describe whoever he was talking to. So it's kind of a way of not getting rejected without feeling like you're getting rejected. So you're talking to a mum who's on maternity leave. So you said the kind of person who does well with us is a new mum who's on maternity leave but doesn't want to go back to a new job, a current job, but wants to still earn a good income, but whilst focusing on the kids, or not having to send the children to nursery, being there to pick them up at the school gates, that kind of thing. The same applies to anybody who you're talking to, really, businessmen or whoever. So he says that's the approach that he would use, and then he would go on to say, who can you think of who might like some more information? So the response he's trying to trigger there is for them to say, oh, I'm just like that person, because he's just described them, but there is a few other responses which he said is possible. So these are the possible responses. No, sorry, I can't think of anyone. To which he would reply, no worries, hope he didn't mind me asking. So you're not really you are getting rejected, but you don't feel embarrassed about it, which is the key thing. Obviously, they should be able to think of someone, because you should have just described them, but yeah, some people might just not get it. The second response is, yes, I can think of someone. My mum was saying this, or my sister's just on maternity leave at the minute and she doesn't want to go back to a current job, to which you would ask for their contact details. He said that he usually gets the best response from people if you say, oh great, can I have your mobile number, and I'll just send them a quick text with some information on. He said that people seem to be more forthgiving with phone numbers if you say you're going to text them rather than call them, so that might be something to think about. I suppose possibly I'd give somebody's details out for a text and not a phone call, but I'm not sure. But if it's worth for him, then I guess it's worth a try. I know Keris has said to me in the past as well that people are more forthgiving with their email addresses as well rather than phone numbers, so that could be an avenue to go down. And the third response, which is obviously the response that you're looking for, is, yes, I might be interested. Can I have some more information, please? Which is the perfect response, and that's when you can go on to the one-to-one or the 4-minute video and BP and all that kind of thing. So just what I said with this is sort of on the third point, is you could get a couple of responses within them asking for some more information. So you can get the nice response, which is, I might be interested, what's it about? So that's the best response that you can get. The other response is the sceptical response, which I'm sure we've all had. What is it? But he said that even though it is a sceptical response, the person is still responding in an emotional way, which is a positive thing. Now, I would never have seen it like that before he said it. However, that does make sense, because they're still connecting with what you're saying emotionally. And he says at that point they've got 3 conflicting emotions going around their head. So the first emotion is fear of being taken for a ride, and that's all to do with their past experiences and what they feel they know about network marketing and forever. The other emotion is hope, so that's hopefully being created by what you've said. So I suppose everybody wants to think that there might be something in what we said, because obviously we've all probably been there where we've thought it's too good to be true, but we hope that it's not, and that's why we join up. So that's another emotion that they're going through. So it's just about understanding the different ways they might be feeling. Another thing that he has mentioned at this point as well is contact marketing. Now, it didn't go into a great deal of detail because it wasn't a contact marketing session really. However, he did say at times, like at a petrol pump where you're stood at one side and somebody else is stood at the other side of the pump, he thinks to himself, I've got 90 seconds and I'll never have to see this person ever again. So it starts with an icebreaker, the weather, the traffic, something like that, or where they're going, where the other person's going, sorry. He then waits for them to either engage in conversation or not, so they either engage and answer what he's asked them, or they just kind of look at him as if he's some, fool who's talking to them when they don't really want to be talked to, they just want to get on the way. But if they do engage in some sort of a conversation, then he goes on to say, I am headhunting for my company at the minute. I promised myself that I would speak to everybody who I met today, and then he'd take it back to the previous slide, how he would kind of recruit a warm prospect. It then goes on to say, I can't go into very much detail now, because obviously they're filling the car up with petrol. And then he would either exchange numbers or business cards with them, add them on Facebook or something like that, or he would say to them, I'm happy to pull up at the next service station for a coffee and we can go through it if you like. So that's just a few different ways that you can broach it. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a petrol pump. It can be a waiter or a waitress, or it can be somebody in a shop. It can be anybody. But I think it's just quite a nice way of, I'm headhunting for my company at the minute. That to me sounded just like a nice way to approach somebody, and I promised myself I would speak to everybody who I met today. Means that it doesn't, to me, it's less awkward, because I just think it's not like you're going up to that one specific person and singling them out. You just meet, you know, it's quite a casual way of approaching it, I think. Again, I've got all this written down. I just didn't want to bombard the slides with writing, so I can send you it all later if you want me to. So, this, with it being blue, obviously, is about Sapphire Manager. So I've singled out Sapphire Manager because every single person who spoke on the stage, and I never thought about it before, to be honest, but everybody talked about why you need to qualify for Sapphire. I never thought past manager, to be honest, and sometimes I haven't thought past supervisor. But everybody said make Sapphire a girl, so I decided I've got to include it on this slide, sorry. So in case you don't know what Sapphire is, if you dead new, obviously it's 9 frontline managers. One thing I didn't know is that you only get paid as a Sapphire, so that's referring to the gem bonus. If all nine frontline managers are in your home country, so obviously for us it'll be the UK. I thought it could be anywhere in the world, but you can get the pin if they're anywhere in the world, but you just can't get the 1% bonus. So that's worth knowing if you didn't know already. So obviously as well, to qualify for the 1% bonus, all the frontline managers have to be 4CC active. That's all 9 of them. Obviously, if you've got more, I'm not sure what happens, but I assume it's just 9 of them that have to be 4CC active. But there is a new way of qualifying for Sapphire that they've just brought out, and that's 9 legs doing a total of 25cc each. So just to clarify, in case you're not sure how this one works, is if one of your frontline managers dies or leaves, sorry for being so morbid, but dies or leaves, but you're still working with their team, then you can still qualify for Sapphire Manager as long as their team are doing a total of 25cc, which if they've got a decent team, which they probably would have to get to Manager, 25cc isn't a huge amount. So Rex brought this about because I think Jane and John approached him and says this isn't fair because, you know, we've got all these team members who we're working so closely with, yet we're not, sounds awful, but not getting any sort of profit for it in terms of getting the extra gem bonus, which is why they brought out this new way of qualifying. So why should you look to qualify as Sapphire Manager? Obviously recognition and career progression, if that's important to you. Lead by example to your team. So if you're qualifying for all these things, then obviously your team will then go for bigger and better things. But the big one that everybody were mentioning was stability. So obviously if you're looking for that royalty style income, by the time you've got to a Sapphire Manager, your business can really run without you, which I know sounds awful, but it's true. And especially if you've got children and you want it to be willable and all that sort of stuff. I guess it's important to have such a stable business that should anything happen to you, then the business will still continue regardless of whether you're running it or not. Also, you've got lots of independent teams who can just run themselves, which is a bonus. So I just wanted to move on to goal setting. Sorry if I run over slightly. I'll try and keep to time, but I'm not sure. I didn't know how much to include, to be honest. So for me, this was and I think for everybody else, this was really, I must say, the best part of the weekend. Keris knows, and I'm sure a few of you, the others, know that I've always struggled with goal setting, and I've always put that down to the fact that I don't have children, because I think it's quite clear if you've got children why you're doing the business, and why you're working so hard. But if you don't, then you haven't got anything, to me, quite so obvious to work towards. However, that kind of changed this weekend with Brian Main. So it did go through quite a lot of scientific information. So I haven't included all of that because I didn't want to bore you all, but I do have a lot of information about it because it interests me. If you want it, I can send you it later again. So it did talk a lot about the subconscious and conscious mind, and giving the subconscious destination. You can see by the image as well. Obviously, your conscious mind is the bit that you see. Your subconscious mind is something you can't see and can't feel, but is constantly working for you. So the things they said was, whatever you think of most appeals to the subconscious, whether you desire it or not. Your subconscious can't understand it goes. Your subconscious is that one that drives you to wherever you're going. So if any of you drive, I'm sure you'll have experienced, you get in the car and you driving to work, or you driving to your parents or wherever, and you get to wherever you go, and you get to work, or you get to your parents or your grandparents, and you think back and you think, I don't actually remember any of that journey. I don't remember what lights I stopped at. I don't remember the roundabouts. I don't remember the sheep that I saw in the field, whatever that may be. But you've still got yourself there, and that's your subconscious driving you there, which is a little bit scary, to be honest, but that just shows how powerful it is. In fact, your subconscious brain is actually 30 times more powerful than your conscious mind. And really, he was saying how you need to command your subconscious, given that it's so much more powerful than your conscious mind. You need to pay it some respect as well, I suppose. He also talked about how we're a master of manifestation, both positive and negative. And he says that worry is like a negative goal setting, which I never thought about it like that before. So you set all these weird and wonderful goals, these great big fantastic goals, and then you worry about other stuff, and then essentially you're wiping away some of that because you're negative goal setting. So that if you worry more than you set the goals, then you're in negative goal setting, I suppose. And your subconscious moves you towards whatever you're thinking about, but it can't make logical decisions. So it's quite difficult because only your conscious mind can make only your conscious mind can make logical decisions. Yet your subconscious mind is 30 times more powerful than your conscious mind. So sorry for all these words, but I'm just trying to get to how important it is to be positive and to think about where you want to be rather than where you don't want to be, because your subconscious mind won't understand that you don't want to be there, and it'll just take you to whatever you're thinking of regardless of that. Again, there's quite a lot of science behind this, so just but I'm a bit of a nerd as well. So Brian believes that there's I don't know whether this is a Brian thing or whether it's something that other people use as well, but he believes there is a DAC factor. So DAC stands for drive, ambition, and confidence. So what he said is 5 people can get the same technical knowledge and skills training, so they can have exactly the same training, but 1 will be a superstar, 3 will be average, and 1 will fail. Obviously, this is it wouldn't happen in every 5 people, but it's just trying to show you that the same kind of people can have exactly the same knowledge, exactly the same training, and yet the results are so different. And he again puts this down to the amount of drive somebody has, the ambitions that somebody has, and the amount of confidence somebody has. So really to be able to both for you to achieve your goals and to allow your team to reach their goals, it's important to understand how much you want to do something, how much you want to get to your goals, which is obviously your drive, the ambition to get to where you want to be, and the confidence that you have in your goals. And I suppose those are 3 things that we can work on, and we need to work on in order to get to where we want to be. So I just love this. Do what makes your heart sing. It just really rung true with me. It's all about passion, and again, it just was sort of speaking to us about what are you prepared to risk failure for, and what are you prepared to work for. So he says that he's always been really, really scared of failure, as most of us are, and I can say I'm like that. I've never really failed at anything, and that might sound big-headed to some, but I don't think I've risked failure either. I've always stuck to I suppose quite safe things, and not wanting to put myself out there to risk failure. So it's really getting down to the nitty-gritty of what you are prepared to work for and what you are prepared to fail for. Because sometimes what you're prepared to fail for is actually stronger than what you're prepared to work for. So it could be your children, it could be holidays, it could be your family, it could be your grandparents, it could be anything. But it's just working that out, because we're all going to have completely different answers to that question. But again, do what makes your heart sing. Do what you're happy with. Do what you're passionate about. This is a little graphic. It's exactly the same graphic that's what Brian used again. Search for on the internet, because it's just a graphic that I really liked. But it's about the left and the right side of your brain. So obviously, we all know the left brain is the logic side and the right brain is the creative side. And what he was saying really is that it's important to marry the two together. So when you're goal setting, you need to connect the left and the right brain. So your left side likes words, being the logic side, and your right side likes pictures. So he was saying how you need to marry the two together to be able to really set the goals and be able to imprint them in your mind, I suppose. So this is a goal map, which is one of Brian Main's. You can get these templates online for free. We all got one as part of the weekend, and we did fill it in at the weekend. So it comes in 2 halves, and he did talk us through it, so I just wanted to talk you through it as well, just a little bit. So when you're filling in the goal map, and I really would encourage you all to do it, because I thought I'd be rubbish at doing it, to be honest, but I did manage it, and I was quite proud of it, to be honest. So in a little while we'll talk about how you set goals, but out of all the goals you set, you choose a main goal. So the main goal usually is something that would allow you to achieve the other goals. So something like achieving manager, achieving sapphire manager, achieving diamond manager, if that's what you want. Or it could be something completely different in your personal life. So that would be your main goal. The sub goals are the other 4 other goals, which would be obviously your main goal would help you to get to your sub goals. Obviously your 3 whys at the top are just sort of a buzzword as to something that would make you remind you of why that goal is important to you. The date directly underneath the main goal, that's when you want to achieve your goal by, and the date at the bottom is today's date, or the date whenever you do your goal map. The 3 hows at the side, they're how you're going to do it, so what steps you need to take to be able to get to that main goal, and obviously it's a timeline. So the bottom one is the one that you need to do first, and the third one is the top one, sorry, is the one that you need to do closest to your main goal. So obviously that should go in a sequential order. And the 3 who's at the other side are the 3 people who are going to help you to get to your goal. So that might be your partner taking time off work, that could be your upline, it might just be yourself, it might be your children, it could be anybody. But it's just thinking of 3 people who are going to help you along the way. So that's the first side. The second side is that would appeal to the left hand side of the brain. The second side would appeal to your right hand side. So whatever you've written in the first half, you would then draw out in the second half. So obviously, you don't have to be any sort of a master of art. But and nobody else has to know what the pictures represent. As long as you know what they represent, that's all that matters. So it says, when you're goal setting, you need to write your goals first, and then you need to draw them as well, so that marries up both sides of your brain, your left hand side and your right hand side. That makes it much more effective. You would, just a little stat for you, you would have to write a word 100 times per day for 1 month to equal one picture to activate your subconscious. So one picture is equal to writing a word 100 times per day for a whole month to activate your subconscious. And as we spoke about before, your subconscious is far more powerful than your conscious brain. So it wouldn't, I mean, I've only just done this at the weekend, so I don't know. I can't say for definite that it works, but Brian works for all sorts of PLC companies, and they all still use him, so I assume it probably does work. It's definitely worth trying in my book. He also said then you need to sign your map at the bottom, which then confirms that it's kind of a promise to yourself that you're going to stick to this, and you're going to these are your goals and this is what you've set. And again, it's just a commitment to yourself and to your goals. So sign your map, see it, say it, share it. So see it refers to visualizing your goal map every day. So do this, put it somewhere prominent where you're going to see it, either on your phone or stuck to your wall or on your fridge or wherever you're going to see it. And he suggests visualizing it every morning just to give you a purpose for the rest of the day. Say it, so say all the affirmations, say what your goals are, just to imprint it in your brain, and share it with like-minded people. So that might be just putting it on the Facebook groups, or it might be speaking to your upline about it and just telling them your goals. I think this is more just so that if somebody else knows it, then even if you're willing to, let yourself down, then you're not going to let other people down, and you certainly don't want people to know that you're letting yourself down. So sharing it with like-minded people, and they can spur you on. And when you're going through tough times in your business, then your upline can give you a kick, or your partner can give you a kick in the right direction, just to make sure that you're sticking to what you've promised yourself, I suppose. So this is the activity that I spoke about. Now, I really, really, really want you all to just get your pen and paper out, and I really want you to do it live while we're on the webinar. It really, really, really wouldn't be the same if you didn't do it live, so you'll only be letting yourself down if you don't do it now. No pressure. So we did it all at the weekend, and as I said, I've really struggled with goal setting, but this really helped me, to be honest, and I didn't think it would help me quite as much as it did. So again, I'm going to ask you 7 quick questions to set a big why. So most of you might know your why already, some of you might not, but this should help you whether you know it or not. And even if you have set a why, this will definitely help you to set a bigger why. I believe it did for pretty much everybody in the room. Answer the first thing that comes into your mind, and don't think about it too much. So don't be thinking about it. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer roughly. Although I don't have a watch with me, which is a bit foolish. But I'll give you a few seconds just to answer it. I will let you have the questions afterwards. I've got it on the next slide, so you will be able to write them down. I'll take a photograph. But I just wanted you to answer them as honestly as you could and as quickly as you could without reading them too much. So I hope everybody's ready, and I'm going to start. So question number 1. If you won £10 million on the lottery, what would you do differently in your life? I'll ask the question again. If you won £10 million on the lottery, what would you do differently in your life? So if you just write down the answer as quickly as you can, and then I'll go on to question 2. Okay, question number 2. Sorry if you didn't get a chance to answer it, but you will get the questions afterwards. If you only had 6 months to live, sorry again for being so morbid, but sorry, let me start again. If you only had 6 months to live, but would live that time in perfect health, what would you do differently with your time? Question 2 again. If you only had 6 months to live, but would live that time in perfect health, What would you do differently with your time? Question number 3. What have you always wanted to do but have maybe been too afraid to attempt? Question 3. What have you always wanted to do but have maybe been too afraid to attempt? Question number 4. If you could be granted any one skill or ability, what would you choose? Question number 4. If you could be granted any one skill or ability, what would you choose? This includes superpowers if you choose. Number 5. What gives you the greatest feeling of pleasure and satisfaction? Number 5. What gives you your greatest feeling of pleasure and satisfaction? Number 6. What legacy would you like to leave? How do you want to be remembered? Number 6. What legacy would you like to leave? How do you want to be remembered? Number 7. Final question. If you knew you were guaranteed to succeed, what one great achievement would you dare to dream for yourself? If you knew you were guaranteed to succeed, what one great achievement would you dare to dream for yourself? So no chance of failure whatsoever. Okey doke. So that's the end of the questions. Really hope I gave you a chance to answer them, but I am going to give you the questions now. So we all did that at the weekend, and hopefully that'll just give you a little bit of focus on where your goals are going to be based. I imagine for most of you who have children, it will be around your children. He also did an exercise with us regarding kind of visualization of your greatest day, which involves us all closing our eyes and relaxing, that kind of thing, and him talking in a hypnotic voice. However, I don't have a very hypnotic voice, and I think I'd just make a fool of myself, so we're not going to do that tonight. But he has got quite a lot of information online on his website, and also he's got quite a lot of tools, so possibly that's one of the tools on his website. I found it quite useful. I've never really done it before, but I did actually find it quite useful in setting bigger goals. Again, it was just all about what your dream day would be, how you would wake up, how you get to work, what view you would see from your bed, that kind of thing. But again, I don't think it's something that comes particularly natural to me, so we're not going to go there. But I would definitely recommend that you have a look into it if at all possible. So these are the questions. So if you want to have either quickly jot them down, or if you want to take a photograph of them, again, I've got them written down. So if you want me to send you them to make life easier, I can do. And I mean, I didn't really think about it before, but the link at the top, it is a link to his YouTube video. on these questions, and he asks the questions and gives you 30 seconds to answer them. So if you have new team members, then it might be worthwhile sending them the link or doing the link with them, so they can do the exercise for themselves if you don't want to do it with them. Okay, I'll move on, but obviously if you want these afterwards, then just let me know and I can send you them. You'll be glad to know that we're coming to the end. So what I learned over the weekend, I learned all sorts of things, but far too much really for one slide. But I think these are probably my key things. So the fortune is in the follow-up. Obviously, it's something that I discussed with you earlier about Jane and John not signing up on the first go. If somebody says no, then please just follow up. Sorry, my nan's just telling me that my time's up, so I'm sure you're all aware of that by now. Think big. Right. Think big. So obviously the goal setting and stuff will help you, but just think a bit bigger than what you've probably thought of before. Learn the system and stick to it. The importance of finding 5 key people. I've never really thought about it like that before, to be honest, but Jane spent a lot of time. Again, I've got notes on it, but I didn't really have time to cover it in this webinar about finding your 5 key people. And by 5 key people, she meant the people who are going to hit manager, not just anybody who signs the registration form, because that's the easy bit. It's going, putting the activity in place, putting the plans in place. That's what makes them a key person. And once those 5 key people have hit manager, obviously find another 5 key people, or it's kind of a work in progress. So don't just find 5 people and that's it. Obviously, you're going to keep progressing as far as you go. Don't procrastinate, so just do everything now rather than waiting, which I've done for the last quite a lot of months now, but and I'm sure we've all been guilty of that. But again, it's just do it now. Don't think about it too much. Just if you don't do it, then you're probably not going to reap the rewards either. Learn the business presentation off by heart. So whether this means either going to your local business presentation every single week, or some of them were saying how they can't make the business presentation for whatever reason. And I know by having conversations with Helen and Ella that they find that other people find it difficult, especially if you've got children and lives and all that kind of thing, to go to the BP every single week. But a lot of them did say that they just watch it online every single week at the time of the business presentation. So if your local BP is on a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, then obviously watch it online, and then you'll learn it just as well as if you were actually going to a live business presentation. And learn to answer the common questions. I'm just in the process of putting the document together about the common questions that are asked, which Andy Carver went through, and I'm happy to send that to any of you. There were quite interesting answers and ones that I've probably not thought of before. So again, if you want that, let me know, because I think everybody would benefit from it, to be honest. Another couple of things that I learned was learn to draw the marketing plan freehand. So I think it was Jane, but it could have been Chris who says that they went round to a friend's house and they were asking lots of information about this business that they'd just set up, and they didn't really want to lose that person straight away, so they wanted to just be able to give them a little bit of information, and to do that they actually drew the marketing plan freehand, which I know for a fact I couldn't do, and credit to you if you can do it, but just make sure that you can do that just in case the opportunity ever comes up to share that kind of information with somebody. I suppose especially the figures and stuff, which is what people want to know, and make sure those are accurate and you're not giving people the wrong information. Always be prepared. Chris covered this, how she always makes sure she has a notebook and pen with her, and business cards. I suppose now it's slightly different possibly to when Jane and John started, and possibly Chris, in that we all have Facebook, we all have smartphones, so you can always go into your notes on your phone, or you can add someone on Facebook. But again, just make sure you've got some sort of method of taking down details should you bump into somebody who might want some more information. Again, it all comes back to you never forget the ones that you lose. So just make sure that you don't end up in that position where you lose somebody, and then you never forget about it. And then the last thing wasn't the last thing at all, but the last thing I'm going to mention just now is just how dedicated I suppose some of these high flyers are. So Emma Cooper did a lengthy slot, who we all know Emma Cooper, and how quickly she's hit all of the incentives. And she was actually talking about how she had no break at all during or after giving birth. So I know that's quite extreme. She actually said that she was doing a planning meeting while she was on gas and air, and that she was down doing a launch for a new team member. 6 days, I think she says, after having a cesarean section. No, obviously, I'm not suggesting that we all need to stick to that, because I know that that's very, very, very extreme, because she's a very extreme lady. But it just shows how hard you have to work, I suppose, or you can work to get to where you want to be. So that's the end of the show, the slideshow and the webinar. If you've got any questions, just message me. I'm far from being an expert. However, I do have a lot of notes from the weekend. So hopefully I'll be able to help you out a little bit. And obviously your reply will certainly be able to help you out, probably more than I can, to be honest. So it was lovely speaking to you. Sorry if I babbled a little bit, and enjoy the rest of your evening.